In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you the most important move to learn in lightsaber combat in Battlefront 2, other than the basic strike, of course. Also, in this video, I'll tell you everything you need to know about the most important move in BF2, and counters to go against the move, and pro tips scattered throughout the video. Okay, let's get back to the move. A move that surprisingly not that many people know about, and a move the game does not tell you. A move which can improve your lightsaber combat and can up your win percentage in 1v1s by 30 to 50%, give or take with the percent, because I'll have to do a lot of serious research to figure out the right percent, so you get the point. It will improve your lightsaber combat in Battlefront 2, so let's get right into it. Hello everyone, Colin here, and welcome to the first episode of a possible new series of tips and tricks in Star Wars Battlefront 2. So, without further ado, the move is called Parry. So, how do you parry in Battlefront 2? Hold block, and when your opponent swipes at you, when you hear the lightsaber hit together noise, then press the attack button while holding down the block button. And that is how you do a simple parry. You take no damage while your opponent takes the amount of damage that a normal lightsaber swipe would do, which is that you can defend and attack at the same time. And also keep in mind that parries take twice the amount of stamina as a normal swipe, since you block and swipe at the same time. So, it take up twice as much. You can also parry against the jump swipe, though it's a little bit harder since the swipes are quicker, but you can parry them. You can also parry melee attacks. However, your opponent is meleeing attacking you usually means you're low on health because, or they just completely give up and trying to shoot you. It could be either one. Probably better to just do nothing. I also find it harder to parry for melee attacks. That's probably because I don't usually parry them very often. So it doesn't happen very often, but you can parry a melee attack. Now, is it better to accidentally go too soon or too late for doing a parry after your opponent's swipe? I would say that later would be better, but if your opponent knows how to parry, that makes it a little bit different. I'll explain how to go against people who know how to parry later in the video. And as the Jedi who is master of the high ground, master of the low ground, and master of...
Hello there.
Would say...
The strongest defense is a swift and decisive offense.
And for parrying, that is certainly true. Now, which heroes and villains are easier or harder to parry with? Obi-Wan has a lot of stamina, which means he can parry for a long time. And with a certain star card, perfect defense, gives him even more stamina, which means he can parry even longer. Then the next couple of characters, Count Dooku, Luke, Rey, Vader, Kylo, and Maul are pretty about the same-ish for when it comes to parrying. Anakin, if you're using the massive strike star card equipped, his stam runs out really quickly, which makes it, a little bit harder to do parrying because it uses up more stamina, but he can do it. And Grievous's stam runs out quicker, so it makes it a little bit harder to parry. Yoda is difficult because of the timing. If you mess it up, your parry, you're vulnerable for a longer period of time, since Yoda's swipe takes long. But he can parry and can be very useful because most people like to swipe at Yoda because he's smaller. And if you ever run into an opponent who likes to spam swipe, you can parry over and over again. There's one reason of many reasons why you shouldn't spam swipe, though I guess it does kind of depend on the situation. Like in 1v1s, you probably shouldn't. In 4v4, you could. It all just kind of depends on the situation. But the parry can be used for more than just lightsaber combat. It can also be used against lightsaber heroes and villains' abilities. For instance, when Anakin is in the middle of using his heroic might ability, you can parry it, as you can see here. However, keep in mind that when you do a parry or a normal swipe, while your opponent is in the middle of doing ability, he will take reduced damage than a normal swipe. Because when you're in the middle of doing ability, you have damage resistance. But be careful when parrying against the ability, because if you time it wrong, you could be pushed, freeze, or choked. What? You survived? You're supposed to fall off the edge! Now, which ability abilities can you parry or not parry? You can't parry all abilities. Some you can, some you can't, and some are risky or difficult. Starting with the light side abilities, Luke, all of Luke's abilities can be parried, except when he uses his push ability in a certain way, which I'll show you how to do later in the video. And a lot of players like to spam Luke's dash attack, so parrying can be very useful against that. Yoda, you can parry his unleash attack, his extra health ability you cannot, and his dash attack is unblockable, which means you can't parry that either. Obi-Wan, his force push you can parry, but be careful with parrying his force push ability, because Obi-Wan can release it at any time, so it's harder to time the parry. And his mind trick ability you cannot, since it's not an attack. His dash attack can't be parried. Rey, you can't parry any of Rey's abilities, not even her dash attack, but she does go too fast for me to test the dash attack properly, see if you can parry it. Anakin, now Anakin's abilities are the easiest to parry, and I suggest he is the best hero to go against to practice parrying. You can parry his whole attack and his heroic might, but you have to be careful when trying to parry his heroic might ability, because he can release it at any time. Usually it's pretty quick. And his overhead slash ability is unblockable, which means you can't parry it. And Anakin's retribution ability, the one he builds up over time, is a little more difficult because I don't encounter it as often. I'm not sure, but I think you can parry it when he starts using it. You cannot parry it during it, but you can parry it when you hear the ability noise at the end as he finishes the ability. Keep in mind that while he is using that ability, he'll have damage resistance more than any other ability. Okay, moving on to the dark side character, Darth Vader. Darth Vader's growing lightsaber ability, you can't. His focused rage ability, you can't. His chokehold ability, you can if the Vader player is not holding block, but if they are, you can't. So I suggest not trying the parry. Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren's pull, you can. His frenzy attack, you can parry when he first swipes you with it. But the rest of the swipes, you cannot. So usually it's best to just try to dodge out of the way or knock him down. His freeze attack, you can parry. However, there is a way to avoid being parried while using his pull and freeze abilities. I'll explain how later in the video. Darth Maul. His throw ability, you can't. His chokehold ability, you probably can parry, but usually I don't even try to parry it because his animation is so long while using that ability. You can usually get 1 to 2 swipes in while he's doing the animation without even needing to parry. His spin attack ability, you can parry, which is huge because a lot of people seem to really love to spam the spin attack, which in some cases you do, but not all the time. Grievous's thrust surge ability, you can parry, and can be a good one to practice on, since you have such a long warning before he teleports to you. And when he spins his lightsabers around and around in a mesmerizing like way, you cannot parry. And his claw rush ability, you can parry, but is very risky to do, but you can parry it. And you can parry it multiple times as he scurries around your feet. Count Dooku's lightning ability, you can, and his other 2 abilities are not attacks, so you can't parry them. Now, there are a few exceptions since these aren't technically lightsaber heroes, but do have abilities that can be parried, and those are Han Solo's shoulder charge, which obviously is a blaster hero, but you can still parry his shoulder charge. Now, he will do more damage to you, I believe, than you'll do to him by parrying, because he has reduced damage. If you can avoid Han Solo's pointy shoulder, then you might as well try to do that, because it's usually just better off. But if you have no other choice, you can parry it. BB-8, you can parry his spin attack, but only when he first activates it. Then I don't believe you can. I believe you can also parry BB-8's charge attack, though I'm not 100% certain of that. Emperor Palpatine, you can parry his electrocution ability when he zaps lightning to the ground, and his other abilities you cannot. Now that you know how to parry and parry against abilities, let's talk about how you can double parry. That's right, you can double parry, but it's kind of difficult, and even I don't fully understand it, which is the maximum amount you can parry. So, how do you double parry? When your opponent swipes at you, do the normal parry. After you parry, the swipe, then swipe again quickly before the opponent can block it or dodge out of the way. That is considered a double parry. But you can only get the second swipe in if your opponent does not dodge out of the way or block quickly enough. Now, I have double parried before, subconsciously I believe, but I never knew exactly how it worked. So if you want a little bit more depth on how to double parry, I suggest you go and watch TDS Darth Wade Battlefront 2 How to Parry video. I understand a little bit more watching his video, so I wanted to give him a shout out where credit is due. Now, how to go against the normal parry. So what are some of the best ways to go against someone who can parry, and how to avoid their parry as much as possible? In other words, rule number 1, never spam swipe. As you probably know by now, that is the best way to practice parrying, which we don't want to help the enemy practice parrying, now do we? Another way on how to go against them, try to make your swipes as unpredictable as possible. For instance, try doing a jump swipe and a hook swipe, which are faster swipe, which means less time their opponent has to parry. Plus, the hook swipe can go through your opponent, doing damage from behind when done right, making it so it can't be parried. And try doing unpredictable dodges. If you always dodge right, then try dodging left. Try to get behind them as much as possible. Another way you could try is to go one swipe, then wait, then swipe again, then dodge towards them, then do nothing, then dodge towards them again, and then may do something. Just make it as unpredictable as possible. Then may dodge for them and do 2 swipes. Just really mix it up. However, if the person has really quick reflexes with parrying, you probably should not do 2 swipes at one, unless they are low on stamina. Then you might want to, do the thing which I say you shouldn't do, and that's spam swipe. Now let's talk about some ways on how to avoid being parried while using ability. 1, try to make them as unpredictable as possible. Don't just, spam it as soon as it's ready to do the next ability, then use it, You try to make it more unpredictable. Also may try to get farther away when you use certain abilities. Then they can't reach you to be able to parry you, though that's usually very difficult to do since most of the battles are pretty up close. However, there are 3 abilities that you can avoid being parried completely, and those are Luke's push, Kylo Ren's freeze, and pull. You see, you can use these 3 abilities while jumping, which means while you're in the air, you cannot be parried. Well, I don't want to make this video too long, so I hope that gives you an understanding on how to parry and some advice to be able to help you progress in lightsaber combat and 1v1ing in Star Wars Battlefront 2. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like and comment, and I'm considering on doing more tutorials and tricks and tips for Battlefront 2. I'm thinking on even starting a series of tips and tricks for all the heroes and villains. I'm also planning on making more fun Battlefront 2 content. If that is something you're interested in, consider subscribing, because this video has taken a lot of work, research, getting the clips together, so it would really mean a lot if you could do that. If you want to give your mind a little bit of a rest from all this learning, here are 2 fun videos you could watch. And once again, I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!